Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to Life, Loss and Hope. Thank you for joining us today. Today I'm going to be talking about the impact of rebuilding our lives and our identities after loss. Thank you for subscribing, for joining and for sharing. Please continue to do so. After losing a loved one, have you ever looked at your life and wondered, how did I get here? Am I truly living or just existing? Or what really has happened to my life? Even the question of who am I? Grief is not just about losing someone, it's about losing yourself, your old way of life and your way of being. And realizing that we have lost our old life and the person who shaped much of our identity is deeply unsettling. So grief isn't just about missing someone, it's about figuring out who we are without them and somehow carving a new life, loving them, but learning to live without their presence. It's about embarking on a deep personal journey of grief, self-discovery and transformation after that loss that has unraveled much of our carefully built identity. A journey we didn't want, choose, or perhaps even see coming. And as we stare down the path at that wreckage of loss, it screams at us, what now? What are you going to do with your life? How do we go forward from the loss of those who have shaped and defined our life and our very being? Whilst rebuilding our lives and identities after loss is difficult, it may be helpful to explore some of the key lessons and insights from those who have faced the end of their lives and learning from them how to live more wholeheartedly now and with no regrets later on. Years of working in palliative care with the dying and the bereaved has given me some powerful and poignant insights to share, drawn from talking to those in their final weeks and days, their thoughts, their regrets, the wisdom or life lessons that they would like to impart to those closest to them to enable them to live fully in a way that perhaps they had missed out on. And looking back at those conversations, there's some common thoughts and regrets of many people who expressed that they would do some things differently if they had more time and that they would fulfill their aspirations. So what can we learn from these as we rebuild our lives after loss? Firstly, people say that they wished that they had lived more authentically. This is a fairly universal thing that is documented by researchers and palliative care workers as one of people's most profound regrets, meaning that people express that they wished they had lived their lives truer to themselves rather than conforming to others' expectations. They wished they had the courage to be themselves, to express their emotions fully, whether they were sad, disappointed, angry, joyful, or proud. They wished they'd been able not to be people pleasers, to be caged by others' expectations and also consumed about what other people think and their opinions. They wish they'd lived in freedom, realizing that most of the time other people are really not spending any time thinking about you or what you're doing. The reality is true. The majority of people are preoccupied by their own lives and their own stuff. A lot of us don't live our lives authentically because also we're too afraid of not fitting in. So we compromise how we react, live, and we also compromise our dreams. Basically, from a young age, we tend to live life worrying what others think of us. So we live too safely, too tightly, and controlled by invisible expectations because we fear being rejected, thought crazy, or being ridiculed. And how many times have we wanted to do something, buy something, say something, and then that people-pleasing cloud came in that obliterated that desire? One thing loss has really taught me is to shed this and decide that I'm not living that way anymore, to embrace living my authentic self and do life with those who celebrate me, not tolerate me. Grief and loss brings us to face with the question, who am I and who do I want to be? And what do I really want to do with the life I've left? A life to honour yourself and your loved one. Often we've followed paths that other people expect of us, perhaps that satisfy our unmet needs, or an unconscious need to feel wanted, important, or valued. And that can start in childhood when we get the message that we're not important. So years later, we embark on a career or in relationships where we have to keep proving subconsciously how valuable we are to others. And as adults, we can decide that we don't have to do this, because the truth is that we are all valuable beyond measure. That is your birthright. This insight from those at the end of life underscores the importance for us to develop our own self-acceptance and embrace our changing identity, values, and passions. We don't have to stay the same over decades. After all, life changes, and with major events, we transform and we evolve. Every time and during our life, we evolve going forward. Secondly, grief highlights the value of relationships. Many people express regret over not having prioritized their importance, as way too busy with other stuff, other things that didn't matter, or they give too much time to superficial relationships. People always wish that they had loved more, cherished more, encouraged more, and nurtured those important connections with family and friends, highlighting that love and companionship are fundamental to a fulfilling life. And for me, that's been a big ongoing takeaway in grief: to spend time with those you love, to love fiercely, to hug often, to say I love you or I'm proud of you, and celebrate those closest to you, to encourage people every day, to be a cheerleader. Thirdly, most people, sadly, especially men, regret working too hard, not spending more time with young children or enjoying life. They often regret chasing material possessions, promotions, gaining favour with people who don't really matter. And although we have to work to provide and care for a family, it's perhaps a wake-up call to find a new balance between professional obligations and personal fulfilment. Learning to prioritise fun, enjoyment, and making time for family and leisure is vital. Many have also shared the impact of unfulfilled visions and dreams that have been set aside or abandoned. And maybe we can learn the importance of pursuing those things, those aspirations, and reminding ourselves that it's never too late, we're never too old to chase what truly matters to us, to at least have a go at the very best. To do this, we need to have the courage to take risks and embrace change. To step out to pursue our dreams is usually well outside our comfort zones, but by doing so, we can experience new growth and personal fulfillment. Fourthly, I've noted that many people regret not having the courage to express their true feelings, having bottled them up and lived their lives with unforgiveness, resentment, bitterness, causing rifts, alienization, estrangement, and bad relationships. And knowing this may encourage us now to pursue difficult conversations, confront crucial issues, and be advocates for open communication as we honestly express our thoughts and emotions with our loved ones. At first, this can feel very risky and scary, but the truth is that having the courage to be vulnerable emotionally does improve intimacy, and it builds closer bonds in our relationships. Unforgiveness can be deeply lodged in people's hearts and souls, and most of us at some times in our life have been wounded, hurt, or rejected by others, sometimes by friends, family, church, colleagues, or leaders. And we can hold others or ourselves in that prison of unforgiveness for years. It is real, and yet when it persists to our last days, can be even a heavier burden and deeply troubling. And as a chaplain, I often ask people that question: is there anyone you want to forgive? Or perhaps you feel the need to forgive yourself for something in your life. And in my experience, forgiveness is a powerful act of self-liberation, allowing others to let go of emotional burdens and find peace before they die. And sometimes saying, it just wasn't your fault is enough, because people tend to blame themselves. Someone once said to me, living with unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. We forgive ourselves, we forgive to set ourselves free. The fifth key is to live in the present. Dying people often tell me that their default was to dwell in the past or worry about the future. We've all heard that truth about worry. We look back and most of what we worried about really never happened. And worry adds nothing to our lives. It robs us of the joy of today and the moment. So in the rebuilding of our lives, there's a tremendous value on focusing on the present, on mindfulness, savouring each moment and each day. It can be easier said than done, but even small steps of gratitude and enjoyment bring change and is possible. It also amazes me that people that we see in our care nearing the end of life, they do develop a really lovely newfound gratitude for those simple pleasures in spite of the pain, restricted movement and abilities. Sometimes the small things like bird feeders, flowers, trees and the joy of family all becomes magnified. So we too can cultivate finding joy in simple pleasures and gratitude for everyday moments and fostering a deep sense of appreciation for life's beauty. We can be grateful and grieving at the same time. Try to think and write a few things every day that you're thankful for. It shifts your focus. And lastly, most people want to be remembered and leave a legacy of meaning by making a positive impact on the world. Often they want to create a memory box, leave written diaries or books or voice recordings for their family, a legacy of love, memories, values and faith. Death and loss have indelibly changed me. I cry easily, I laugh more, I have spontaneous fun, I have deeper compassion, stronger faith and more empathy. The trajectory of our life changes. Mine changed, my career changed. I wouldn't be doing what I do now as a grief educator, a chaplain and making these videos if I hadn't experienced multiple losses. But I've learned to lean into the pain and it has been out of my comfort zone, but hopefully even these videos help others through the journey of grief. Finding purpose and meaning in our lives going forward is healthy, and perhaps you may be wondering about the legacy you wish to leave behind, focusing on how you can contribute to the happiness of others and create a meaningful life that honours your loved one and the gift of the life that you have left. On our gravestone there are 2 dates, the one we're born and then the one that we die, and in between is a dash. What are we going to do with the dash? What will your dash say? That is your legacy.